I don't even know what to say because they were not talking about reparations yesterday. I don't think. They talked about everybody, everything else but reparations. They talked about, Corey talked about a killing, a shooting that happened in his neighborhood. Danny Glover, who is an actor, talked about his family and his past, and nobody talked about cutting a check. Nobody was serious. They're not taking us serious enough with this. Sheila Jackson talked about her Caribbean ancestors because she's from Jamaica. Let me just tell you, ADOS are people that were descendants of slaves. Okay, if you did not come across to the Americas on a ship with chains, you're not considered ADOS. Barack Obama wasn't considered ADOS. If you did not come over, or your ancestors did not come over here in chains on a ship, then you're not ADOS. Okay, and a lot of people that were speaking yesterday are not ADOS. Okay, nobody talked about reparations. And again, no talk, no reparations, no black vote, no black agenda, no black vote. You're never again going to get black vote for free. This is like you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. What are you going to do for us? You want our vote? Then you got to come with it. You got to come to the table with something. You got to come to the table with reparations. We want a check and we want land. I believe in total separation. I believe that we've given them 400 years to prove to us that they could be fair, and they've every day we look at the police brutality, we look at our prison system, we look at the hangings that's even going on right now, and they've proven over and over and over, every time we talk about justice, or every time we talk about fairness, every time we talk about equality, it's going to be a problem. We're either racist, or we're I don't we're living in the past, or we're bringing up painful whatever to make them feel uncomfortable. But in order to handle this, in order for you to understand that we are due reparations, you're going to feel uncomfortable because we're going to say some things that you're not going to want to hear, because it's things that you've done that you won't want us to remind you of. But guess what? You did them. And again, like I said, reparations are due to black folk that whose ancestors came over here on ships, and it was millions, okay? Millions that died, that came over on ships, okay? And I know Sheila Jackson was talking about it was only like 10 million or something like that. So you mean to tell me that more died in the Holocaust than it did in the slave revolt, in the slave trade? That's bull crap. You know that. Slavery was 400 years, okay? Holocaust was no 400 years, okay? But my thing is, you talk about Jews can talk about the Holocaust with no problems, not being called any names. Indians can talk about their Holocaust. The Asians can talk about their Holocaust. But when we talk about ours, it's an issue. Jews can collect. Oh God, Jews have gotten so much money over and over and over, over and over and over. They're getting so much money even to today. Why is America paying the Jews money for Holocaust? We had nothing to do with their Holocaust, but nobody said anything about having an issue paying them the money for their Holocaust. Okay, they only have an issue when it comes to black people. Just like when you talk about the Indians, you're paying their reparations, and they were supposed to even split that with us. Okay, talking about the 1816. Okay, the treaty that they signed. Okay, let's talk about that. Okay, that was money that was given to them that was supposed to get half. We were supposed to get half of that, but they switched it up to where we had to prove that we were part Indian or something, in order to get some of that money. Okay, so they cut us out of that. Okay, and then come the Asians, they talk about their Holocaust. Nobody has an issue with that. They just wrote them a check, right? So every time everybody, all these different groups are getting their Holocaust, they're getting their reparations, but they want to tell us, oh, nobody is living today that deserved reparations, or nobody is living today that experienced slavery. But guess what? We're still living in the results of slavery today. Okay, we're still living, we're still experiencing the trauma, we're still experiencing the effects of slavery. Okay, because slavery didn't happen to us, it doesn't matter. We're still experiencing the trauma of slavery. Trauma's in our DNA. Okay, you look around and you say, why black folk treat each other the way they do? Because Willie Lynch. Okay, that's a result of slavery. Okay, the Willie Lynch syndrome. Okay, the Stockholm syndrome. Those are results of slavery, results of trauma, results of slavery, results of things that we went through during slavery, or our ancestors went through during slavery, but they never got treated for it. Okay, they were let go of slavery and never went to counseling. They never had treatments. They never was given any help for it. So a person that's living with trauma, they live it over and over. Okay, and they pass it down from generation to generation, and that's what's happened to us. Okay, slavery was passed down from generation to generation. Okay, but you'll say we weren't affected from it. Yes, we were affected, and we're still affected. And guess what? The prison system. Look at your justice system. Everybody know that the justice system happened. Everybody know that the prison system is unjust. Everybody know it's privatized. Everybody know that when you give people like judges money to fill up the prisons, they're going to fill it up because they make money off of filling up the prisons. Okay, but who are they filling it up? They filling up with black folk. Okay, and that takes us and puts us right back into slavery. So they do know what they're doing. Okay, you can get a job and you can make 17 cents or 5 cents or whatever it is in prison, but you can't get a job when you get out. You can't make a job, get a job paying you a decent wage, or you can't, it's so many stipulations on. You can't go to college. You can't get a college degree because you have a felony. Come on, you guys. You can't get government grant money. Come on, this is so crazy. How are you going to, pull yourself up by the bootstraps if there's so many laws and so many conditions attached to it? Okay, white folks say, well, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. But guess what? You didn't pull yourself up by the bootstraps. You got on our backs and you got up to where you belonged and where you needed to be. Not even belong. I'd say use the wrong word. But you used our backs to get to where you are today. Okay? You used slavery. You used us picking cotton. You used the tobacco. Don't even talk about. Let's talk about the tobacco. The monies that was gained by tobacco use. Okay, us picking tobacco and stuff. Okay, so you didn't lift yourself up by the bootstraps. You let us out of 400 years of slavery and let us go free with nothing. Then you redlined our neighborhood. Then you gave us EBT. Then you separated our families. Then then you put drugs in our neighborhood, which is an epidemic, which is the result of your opiate epidemic today. Okay, what you do to us happens to you. And then you wanted to, now you're aborting our children. You're giving them vaccinations that's poisonous. And then going to tell us, well, you have to give your child these vaccinations else they can't go to school. But my thing to that, I wouldn't give them the vaccinations, and I would invest in a new online school from first grade to like 12th grade that you can get, and you can do it as a group, which is something that I would look into if I had children in the school age. I would not put my children at risk by giving them the vaccinations. And in Detroit, even with the water, it's just so much is going on right now, and none of that was talked about in this trial, this fake though reparations trial that they had. Everybody knows that slavery existed. Everybody knows that that the prison system sucks. But you want to have a discussion of a discussion of a discussion to discuss if we need reparations. You know what? Let me just tell you guys, black folk, do not. I repeat, do not allow them to hoodwink you. Do not allow them to pull you along for another 100 years. They've strung us along for all these years, and they've said, well, your ancestors died for you to vote. No, our ancestors didn't die for us to vote. They died because they were either lynched by the KKK, or they were burned out of their house, or they did the Wall Street, and other lynchings and other things that go on, with the KKK and stuff. So they didn't die from voting, for us to vote. We're not going to give you our vote if you don't have a black agenda. We're not going to give you our free vote anymore. If you're not doing something for us, you're not getting our vote. And do not let them hoodwink you by having this fake trial, by having this phony hearing, like they really care, like they're going to really do something. White folk ain't never did nothing for us and not expected something back, or wasn't trying to give you something, but in the meantime, I'm going to hold you off, and I'm going to do something over here in the background that you're not even aware that I'm doing, but I got you focused over here, but I'm doing this in the background. No, we're not going to be hoodwinked. We are not going to give you our free vote because you gave us a hearing that was like, what, maybe 3 hours, 4 hours long, but it took, but you had no ADOS members. You didn't have Yvette's on there. You didn't have Dr. Claude Anderson. You didn't have Joyce, my favorite Cougar. You didn't have Dr. Joyce Cougar, I should say. You didn't have anybody, an ADOS team. You had a movie star. You have an actor. You had Cory Booker, who at first didn't even believe in reparations. You had another white young woman. What's she gonna tell you about slavery? That was crazy right there. I don't even know why she was on there, just to tell you what her family owned slaves. Then you had Sheila Jackson that took the HR 40, and she's gonna get an approval for it, and then they're gonna give you money to approve it. You gotta have a 12. It just makes no sense. You got to get $12 million to investigate whether it's slavery happened or whatever it is she wants to do. But you're gonna have a hearing that none of this made sense. I just couldn't make sense out of any of it because it just made no sense to me. As far as nobody talked money, nobody talked cutting a check, nobody had anything to say as far as what the real issue is today. About nobody mentioned police brutality. Nobody mentioned the lynchings that's going on even today. I mean, it was just a joke. They talked about stuff that we already know about. They didn't say anything new. They didn't say anything that meant anything. They didn't get on there and be real. They didn't tell truth. They didn't say, you know, everybody knows what they said. Everybody already knew. Okay. So, no, they didn't say anything that meant anything. Okay. So it was very upsetting that they even had this hearing. And they had the hearing and it didn't even last any time. So, and the people that they had speaking are called what you call the boule. These are people that are paid by white folk, the elite, to fight the elite's battle, to say what the elite tell you to say it the way they want you to say it, and to act like everything is all good. And it's not. Everything's not all good. But these cooneries will get up there and say exactly what they've been paid to say. Okay, I've heard, even the Mitchell, the one senator man, I think the head, he said something about Obama was in office. He was voted in, so we got reparations. But Obama didn't do anything for Black America. He did it for the white folk. He did it for the banks. He got the banks out of trouble. He didn't do anything when the black folk was losing homes and going into foreclosure like crazy because we got these crazy loans that we were put into. Predatory loans, and he didn't bail out one black person. He didn't bail out anybody, even when this was the time when black kids or kids like Michael Brown was being shot, and he said nothing. He got on there and absolutely did nothing about it. Didn't make a law, didn't even put a law into place. And then you had the CDC that voted on the 80s, the 84 crime bill that Biden came up with and Clinton came up with in 94. And what did they do? They voted on this crime bill to put a lot of our men in prison. Okay, they didn't talk about that crime bill. They didn't talk about the 84 crime bill or 94 crime bill that Biden and Clinton put together, and even Bernie Sanders put his name on the 94 crime bill. They didn't talk about that. They didn't. So this was really a joke. It wasn't something that you were proud of. You didn't walk away saying, man, they really had our backs. They really talked about the check, and they really talked about cutting us the check. Because my thing right now, I am so convinced that we need our total separation. We need to be totally separated from them, because we've tried this. We've tried for years. We've tried for 400 years to get along with them. We've tried for 400 years for equality. But every time, why is it that in 2019 we're still fighting for equality? We're still fighting for freedom. We're still fighting police brutality. We're actually going backwards. The new Jim Crow era, you've got a brand new one now coming up now. It's there. Why are we still fighting that in 2019? My thing, if we giving them ample time, ample opportunity to show us that they can, play fair, and we can get along together, and our children can play together, but the only person playing together is us, and they're not playing fair, and they still putting our children in jail for giving them a exuberant amount of time for non-violent crimes. But then there are people, you had several little boys that was brought up on proven charges, and they still not going to jail. They get probation. You had another little white girl that shot a black man, had a wreck, and he hit somebody's car and ran away from the scene. The white girl chases him down the road and corners him, shoots him, kills him. But now she's in the trial, but I guarantee she won't get any time. But if that was somebody black, they'd had a 2-day trial, maybe a week trial, and deemed them, guilty with no evidence. Okay, we've had a couple of our young men, black men, that was convicted of rape of a white girl. Okay, no evidence, no semen, no penetration, but this young man he got charged with rape and got 12.5 years jail time. Are you serious? That's crazy. Just different things that's going on, that none of this is being brought up. None of this, but you're talking about reparations for slavery. But let's talk about reparations for slavery and now, what we're still going through. You got prisoners, the Central Five, that went to jail. That prosecutor, you're not going to tell me that head woman, Linda, whatever her name is, didn't know that these boys were not guilty. You're not going to tell me that she didn't know what was going on. Oh, she knew, but she didn't care, because she knew that, if I, come forward, then they're going to know that, that she's going to put her career on the line. But everything that they lost, she should lose. Okay? Enough is enough of this. Everybody that's going to jail, even these crooked police officers that's bringing up these false charges, and they're, falsifying documents as far as reports and stuff, they should go to jail. But I'm going to tell you, we got to get rid of some of these prosecutors, and everybody, all of the prosecutors across 50 states except for, are voted in. Okay, all of them are voted in. You can vote those prosecutors out. If they're not, in fact, if they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, as far as in your city, and you see that they're not upholding the law, and these police officers are actually going to the grand jury, and the grand jury are deeming them justifiable homicides, then you need to get rid of those prosecutors, because those prosecutors have a lot of say with the grand jury. Okay, so don't let them pass the buck and say, "Oh, we had nothing to do with that." They do. If that prosecutor wants that police officer to be found guilty, or if wants to go to trial, then all that prosecutor has got to say is to tell that grand jury that they would, just to speak to the grand jury, and the grand jury would say, yes, we want that police officer to go to trial. But a lot of these grand juries and the police officers and all of them are in cahoots together. They've been working this system together for a long time, and it is time now for us to say, no, we're not doing this anymore. I seen a thing on Faircon today, and he said, no taxes. We're not pay our taxes. We're not going to send our children to the service. Why are we sending our children to a service to fight an army, to fight for another country's freedom, when you're not free yourself in your own country? You come back to a country that hates you, that won't even treat you with the dignity that you and the respect that you deserve. But you're fighting a war for them, and fighting another country for that other country's freedom, when you're not free yourself. And then we look at the thing that's going on with Iran now, and they're only going to war with Iran because Iran is not using the American dollar. Okay, they've stopped using the American dollar, just like China and Russia have stopped using the American dollar. But I'm surprised China and Russia are not coming to back Iran, because Iran has chosen not to use the U.S. dollar, which is going to put our dollar into a very threatening position. Okay, so we already know what that's about, that Iran war. That's going to be World War III. But I'm going to tell you what, if we go into World War III, we're done. Okay, so just get yourself ready, start storing up food and stuff. But we have got to change our mind frame and to get it together. black folk. Do not allow this hearing to blind you. Do not think that oh my God, they're talking about reparations. They're talking about this. Nobody's talking about reparations. They didn't even talk about a figure. They didn't even talk about giving you a check. They still talking about you don't deserve it. But everybody else they've given it to. So don't get it twisted. Don't get your mindset all wrapped up around something that's not there. They didn't discuss anything. They didn't say anything new. They didn't tell you anything that you didn't already know. They didn't come up with a conclusion. They're not coming up with a conclusion. This is just something to hold the Democrats and to dangle more cheese in front of your face and say, hey, if you do this, we'll do this. But they're not promising you anything. So do not get it twisted and do not get your hopes up thinking, oh my God, we're close to a decision. They're not close to anything. Because if they were serious, they would have had a vet out there. They would have had the other young man that she works with, and they'd have had Dr. Claude Anderson out there. They'd have had a few ADOS people out there, a real ADOS team, not one that they made up and they just picked by hand and had a bunch of craziness going on that people didn't even talk about reparations, talked about everything else but reparations. So no, they're not trying to help or fix nothing, because if they was trying to fix anything, they would have had a conclusion to the matter. They would have had, well, this is the next step, and they would have had all of that, but they had none of that. So please don't get it twisted. They are not trying to really help you. It just also, I noticed they talked a lot about the Caribbeans, and they're trying to add other people into it, which, no, other people only if you were born in America, only if you came from ADOS slaves. Are we going to talk about reparations for you? If you came from Mexico, if you came from Guatemala, if you came from the Caribbean, Jamaica, if you came from any of those areas, let Britain take care of those people. Let whoever take care of them. But the American government here is going to take care of the ADOS slaves, descendants of slaves. Okay, so we're not going to put everybody. You can't ride on this coattail. Everybody else can't ride on this coattail. We are only speaking up for ADOS people. Okay, so we're not adding in the brown folk and the white folk and the white women and the low class and the low class white folk that's going through right now. We're not adding all of them. We don't have nothing to do. That's not our fight. Okay, if you are not ADOS, you are not part of this fight. You have to get your own fight. You can't ride on the coattail of this one. You got to ride on your own coattail. Okay, so if you calling yourself Mexican, and just like what's the Mexican senator, the female who said that if Mexicans or what she say, Spanish people are not included, then she's not going to fight for it. Well, guess what? Spanish folk had nothing to do. They're not part of the ADOS. They didn't go through slavery. They didn't come over here in chains. They came over here voluntarily, so they can leave voluntarily. Okay, we came over here in captives in chains, and we lost our lives. Okay, we were food for the shark. Okay, our babies was food for alligator baits. So no, you didn't go through any of that. So no, you don't belong in the ADOS this fight. Okay, you have to sit. We're gonna sit you aside. You're gonna have your own fight, because they doing some things to your children that you can file lawsuits for, and you have your own fight. You can't jump on this fight, because this is not your fight. Okay, if you are not black, melanated, okay, ADOS people that came over with chains, okay, part of that, you cannot stand on this fight. Okay, we're not gonna allow you to infringe on this party, not this time. Okay, so when they talk bringing up all them Caribbeans and the Caribbeans and all them foreigners, we not your fight. I was just trying to see if I'm missing any points that I wanted to bring up. I think what's really funny is how a lot of white folks say, oh, we don't owe you guys reparations, but they got money from us, as far as off of our backs, as far as slavery, cotton, and tobacco and all that, and they made their millions, but they don't owe us anything. But we never got paid for any of our labor from building this country. Okay, but they got paid for reparations when we came out of slavery. White folk got paid for reparations then. They got land, they got reparations, they got money, they got, so what did we get out the deal? Nothing. Okay, they wanted us to fail. They wanted us to die out there. They tried their best to kill us out there because they loosed the Klan on us. Okay, but it's so funny how they didn't talk about the Klan. They didn't talk about the murders. They didn't talk about the hangings. They didn't talk about any of that stuff. Okay, But all they could say, and all I think about that one senator, the Mitchell, what's his name, Mitchell, who said, "Oh, nobody is living today that went through slavery. Doesn't matter. We still are experiencing the results, the residue of slavery." So that's the funny part about it, is nobody wants to pay us reparations, but you give it to everybody else. Nobody wants to give us land, but you gave it to everybody else. Nobody wants to do anything for black folk, but you did it for other cultures. And you're not afraid to be racist in our faces. You're not afraid to say no, you don't deserve it in our faces, but then yet you've given it to everybody else. So how are you justifying giving it to everybody else but us? You know, we so busy, as far as black folk, we so busy trying to prove to them that we're not playing favorites among each other, but then they play favorites among themselves, and they're glad to show you, and they don't care what you think, that they playing favorites amongst themselves, and they giving themselves favors, and they're not allowing their children to go to jail for crazy stuff that our children are going to jail for, and they're not afraid to do that in your face, but then you're afraid of showing favoritism towards your own, and you'll act crazy with your own, but then when it comes to theirs, you'll give them favor, but you won't give your own favor. I've never seen anything like this in my life. But I do understand it, because we are part of that. That's part of that Deuteronomy 28 curse. Okay, so I didn't want to come on here and rant and rave. I just wanted to get to the points and, and be done. But I want you guys to think about this. Don't let them hoodwink you. Do not get it twisted. They are just dangling this HR 40 in your face, trying to make you vote for them, and we're not falling for it. We have to show them, we have to stand strong, and we have to show them that we're not taking no more crap from them. We are expecting them to do what they're supposed to do, and we're expecting them to cut the check. We're expecting them. We're not going to allow them to get away with what they've done to us any longer. We're not going to wait another 100 years for them to apologize. We don't care about your apology. Just cut the check. We don't care if you acknowledge. Just cut the check. We don't care about anything else but you giving us our land and cutting the check. And us as black folk, allowing us to develop the land, allowing us to get our own businesses, and allowing us to build another Wall Street, a Wall Street 2. If Wall Street 1 can do it, we can do a Wall Street 2. And we only bank, we only buy, we only have anything to do with ourselves. We only buy from black, okay? And I am ADOS, B1 first. And I say we've tried to mix and mingle. It didn't work. Yah never wanted us to mix and mingle with them. Yah, even in his words, say, learn not the ways of the heathen, come from among them. He told us, okay, even in the word. But what did we do? We allowed them to teach us. We mixed and mingle. We marry them now, and we allow them to teach our children, which is the worst mistake we could ever do. Because Malcolm X told us, he said, only a fool would allow their enemies to teach their children, and that's where we were. I know Martin Luther King had a dream, but I don't know where he got that dream from, but it wasn't God's dream. It wasn't Yah's dream, because Yah never wanted us to mix and mingle. And I know we've gotten brainwashed with that, and we talk like this now as far as total separation, and you think we're racist. We talk about total separation, and you be, oh my God, she wants to take us back to the 60s. No, I want us to go back to where we was before. Oh God, this bee is coming. I'm like, Lord, you ain't finna chase me off my porch, okay? I'm bigger than you. Better get away from me. Shoot. Man, up here he come again. I'm gonna be ready for us behind. Look at it. He over there. You see the little wasp right there? See the little wasp. He look at him flying up. You ain't finna get me, honey. You can forget this. I'm bigger than you. I'm bigger than you. But yeah, so I forgot what I was saying. Lord have mercy, the little wasp got me going. Forgot what I was saying. Little creature. Look at him. Get out of here. In the name of Yahudah. But yeah, so I forgot what I was saying, but let's just not allow them to fake and shake with us. We're not believing the hype. We're not falling for it. We are not going to allow them to promise and get, empty promises. No, we're not taking empty promises. Show us where you have something in writing. Even with Marianne Williamson, we need to be very careful, because she's not even talking about trillions. She's talking about billions. It's in the trillions, 16 trillion or more. Okay, so if you're not in the trillions, don't even come with us talking about reparations. If you're not talking about land, don't even come to us about reparations. Because yes, we do want our own land. Yes, we want to be away. Yes, we want to rebuild our own cities. We want total separation. We want our own government. We want our own everything. Because this thing with us living amongst them, it's not working. They're never going to want to give us equality, because they're so afraid of us. Okay, they're afraid of us. We have no heart to hurt them the way they've hurt us, but to them we're the same as them, and we're not. That's not our that's not our spirit. We don't kill, rape, maim. We don't. That's not our MO. Okay. And I shouldn't even, I'm saying that, but I'm looking at some things that's going on recently with our children, and I'm saying a lot of what we're doing now, where the young man, I think, killed a 3-year-old, and it was his stepdaughter or something, but I don't think it was no kin to him because the mother and him weren't married, so it wasn't a step anybody. It was just a nasty stranger that the mom allowed into the house, and he raped, and he was, messing with the baby, and he ended up killing her. But even with that, that's not our MO. That's not who we are. But some of us have learned the ways of the heathen. And this is exactly why Yah never wanted us to mix and mingle with them, because he knew that we would learn their ways. And we have learned some of their ways, because it's hard to be around somebody and be traumatized for 400 years and not take on some of their characters. It's hard to be in captive of your enemy and not be forced to take on their ways, to take their religion. And we took their religion, and if we would go back and research, the letter J only been in existence for what, 400 or 500 years. Well, what was Jesus called before the letter J came into existence? He was called Yahudah, okay, Yahweh, Elohim. You have to understand, what was he called before he was called Jesus? Okay, think about that. Do your research. Why Jesus is not somebody that we want to follow. Okay, why Jesus said, I'm loving everybody. But Elohim, Yahudah, Yahshua is not saying the same thing. Yahshua said, I'm for Israel. I'm here for Israel first. Okay, but you have to understand, we've been brainwashed. We've been hoodwinked to believe a lot of lies in religion. And you have to understand where all this religion came from. It came from the Catholic Church. The Muslims came from the Catholic Church. They changed worship day from Saturday to Sunday. Everything that Yahudah stands for, they stand against. Same-sex marriage. Now the Pope is trying to change the Bible. Okay, he's trying to reword the Bible. How can a devil reword anything? He's of the devil. They molest children, touching babies, pedophile, and known for allowing it to happen for years. But you want to change Yah's word? You don't have that authority, for one. And you are not qualified to change Yahudah's word. You are not qualified to change anybody's, the Bible. You're not even qualified to touch the Bible. He said, don't touch it. He said, don't even add or take away from it. Okay, and you trying to add to it and take away from it. You don't have that authority, sir. The Pope does not have the authority. He's got so much on his plate, he should be taking care of them priests from molesting them boys. He should be taking care of the Boy Scouts from raping them little boys in the Boy Scouts. You've got enough on your plate. You should be taking care of these white thug terrorists who's blowing up and shooting up nightclubs, shooting up schools, shooting up synagogues, shooting up places. Y'all got enough on y'all plate to take care of them, minding our black business, our reparation business. Mind your own business. Tend to your own business, okay? Your thug terrorists, white thug terrorists, little boys that's shooting up everything. Tend to that. Tend to the priests that's raping boys. Tend to the Boy Scouts that's raping little boys. Tend to your nuns that's raping little girls. You have enough on your plate to tend to. Why don't you sit this one out? We got it, okay? So when we have our little, seminars and our little talks, you can sit this one out. We got it, okay? We don't need you in our conversations. Take care of your stuff over there, because you got enough on your plate to handle. That you sitting over here kind of trying to take care of our stuff, okay? Minding our business. But you have a lot of that, okay? But I wanted to also kind of discuss what we can do as a whole as far as the police brutality. And I do have a few things on my webpage, my Facebook page, that talks about the police brutality and what we need to do about the police brutality and how we can handle it, and and how we can stop it. But we're going to have to change our mindset. We're going to have to see things a little different and think a little different in order to get different results, okay? We've been brainwashed for way too long, and it is time for us to rethink some things and seek some truth, and stand on some truth and get some healing so that we can get different results, okay? Like I said, I didn't want to be on here long. Just kind of wanted us to just wanted, just to come by and just to speak my mind as far as that reparation hearing that was a farce. It was a scam. It's just something that they're trying to dangle in your face, but saying, hey, you vote for us, we're going to talk about this. We're never going to come to a conclusion. We're just going to talk about it. We're not going to give you a check. We're going to talk about it for the next 4 years, and then come up again. We're going to talk about it again, and but no, we're not doing this for another 100 years. We're not going to succumb for another 100 years. Our time is now, and now is our time for reparations. You gave it to everybody else. Now give it to us. And with that said, you have a great rest of your day. Peace. Be one first. Family.